It was another solid group effort from the Huskies today, Sunday, February 23rd, as they took down Butler 86-47 on the road. Let's talk about it. But first and foremost, I want to congratulate redshirt junior Kaitlyn Ducharme on her return. Kaitlyn checked into this game versus Butler for the first time since sustaining a head injury in November of 2023. She surprise checked in with about 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It was definitely an emotional moment for everyone involved, from us fans who have been following Kaitlyn's career since she first arrived in stores 4 years ago, and of course, most of all, her inner circle, and the UConn players and staff. One of the things that really strikes me is that everyone speaks so highly of Kaitlyn. You can definitely sense how important she is to this team off the court, and it was incredible to see her finally able to join them on the court as well. Kaitlyn grabbed a rebound in her 2-minute stint, and I was, without exaggeration, off my feet celebrating. The players made sure to shower her with love as the buzzer sounded, and Gino was really candid in his post-game interview, talking about how no one knew when or even if the return would ever work out, and how it'll be, as expected, a slow process. But no matter how long it takes, I am very much looking forward to it. I'd say that there are just few players who deserve time on the court as much as Kaitlyn does. It was an emotional, unforgettable moment that this team will cherish for a long time. Now to delve into the rest of the game. UConn scored a margin of victory of almost 40 points after a solid first half, a dismal third quarter, and then a rebound in the fourth quarter. 5 Huskies also finished in double figures for the second game in a row. Leading the charge was Paige Bueckers with 23 points on 10 of 16 shooting. She also finished with 10 assists for her second double-double of the season, the first coming at South Carolina, and 3 steals. Both of her double-doubles coming in a 3-game stretch is definitely not too shabby. 17 of Paige's 23 points also came in the first half. I thought in particular she had some tremendous cuts in this game. She's just the player that can be counted on to come in, find a gap, and make something out of nothing. If, for example, her teammate picks up their dribble and is stuck on their pivot foot. There was another play in transition where Ashlynn stopped at the right elbow but didn't have enough room to get a shot off, but Paige cut into the lane at just the right moment and got the and one. Paige also jumped from 9th to 6th on UConn's all-time scoring list in this game. She has to score about 150 points until she reaches Katie Lou Samuelson at number 5, which she is expected to do before the end of the season. My favorite pass of Paige's 10 assists came on a play where she drove from the right wing into the lane, knew Aubrey was right behind her, threw the ball over her shoulder to Aubrey, who gathered it, took one dribble, and finished at the rim. As I like to say, just beautiful basketball for Paige to know exactly where Aubrey is, and for Aubrey to recognize that action as it's unfolding, catch the ball down low, and get to the basket in a flash. Up next to talk about is Sarah Strong, who finished with 16 points on 7 of 13 shooting, along with 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Every Sarah Strong stat line sounds something like this, and I will continue to read each one out in full because she deserves it. I think it must be impossible to not enjoy what Sarah Strong is doing on the basketball court day in, day out. I liked that there seemed to be quite a bit of two-man game between Paige and Sarah in this game, going outside, inside, and vice versa. I would just love to see UConn leverage their pick-and-roll game more. It hasn't been a major part of this team's offensive scheme all season, really, but it is a lethal asset to have in their repertoire, and everyone from fans to broadcasters always talks about Sarah Strong's soft touch on her back-to-the-basket shots, whether it be hook shots, fadeaways, all of it. I will be yet another one to mention it because it is really impressive. She has such a good feel for the game and is so good around the basket. Beyond that, I'm kind of convinced that every single one of her threes will go in. Like, I personally fully expect the ball to go in every time it leaves her hands from beyond the arc. For context, Sarah is shooting an extremely respectable 36% from 3 in her freshman campaign, and she had a nice 3 in this game from the top of the key after trailing behind Paige, who was outrunning in transition, and found her. The play that made me laugh was one where Kaitlyn Chen stole the ball on an inbound play, passed it to Sarah, who froze for a solid 2 seconds before draining a shot from where she was standing just above the free throw line. For a second, it looked as if she was looking for a teammate or couldn't quite believe how open she was, but Sarah has proven herself to be a scoring threat from most areas of the floor. It's a huge asset for this team. There's also the things like Sarah noticing the defense collapsing on her and tapping a pass back out to Jana before it got stolen because she couldn't quite grab it, or her 2 blocks right at the free throw line. The stuff that people often say you can't teach because it's based on effort but also awareness, and Sarah continues to excel in every category. Ashlynn Shade had a bit of a homecoming as an Indiana native. She had quite the cheering section at this game. She finished with 14 points, going 3 of 5 from 3, another game in this really solid stretch that Ashlynn has had as of late, where both her shot has been falling but also her energy and hustle plays seem to be at their peak. She had 3 threes in UConn's fourth quarter push after they got outscored in the third. There was a play earlier on in the game where she ran the floor and had a nice finish through contact that was not called off a steal that Paige helped create. And when Sarah missed a 3, Ashlynn, who had been attempting to set a screen for her, ran from where Sarah took the shot to go collect the offensive rebound. All very classic Ashlynn Shade plays that I hope continue as this team has really come to rely on them. Now, Kaitlyn Chen finished in double figures for the third game in a row, the first time that's happened all season, with 10 points on 4 of 6 shooting, going 2 of 3 from 3, along with 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. This might be one of Kaitlyn's most stat sheet stuffing games, considering she did a little bit of everything, and on her birthday too, so happy birthday to her, by the way. Kaitlyn buried her first 3-point attempt, which tends to be a sign for Kaitlyn that it's going to be a good game, and was part of that fourth quarter scoring burst with another 3 and a mid-range jumper from the free throw line. Really just my hats off to Kaitlyn for her consistency as of late. Just as I mentioned with Ashlynn, this kind of production from Kaitlyn has proven to be invaluable. Azzi Fudd was the 5th Husky in double figures as she finished with 10 points on 5 of 6 shooting, going 0 of 1 from 3. She actually didn't score her first points until just before the first half ended on an elbow jumper. Azzi, as we know, is guarded so closely out on the perimeter, but can truly score from everywhere on the court, so I always enjoy it when we get to see some mid-range action from her. She is so quick to get that first step on her defender and rises for her shot so quickly. She also hit another really neat mid-range shot, I think in the third quarter, maybe the fourth, as she was fading to the right. It's really cool to see players nail those shots as they're in motion midair. Azzi's first 3-point attempt came with 2 minutes left in the third quarter, which definitely isn't ideal. I would prefer it to be taken sometime like 2 minutes into the first quarter, but I'm sure we'll see much more of that moving forward, as it will again be one of UConn's keys to success in the postseason. Moving on to 2 players in Jana El Alfy and Arnold, who had relatively quiet nights, but there are some points I want to hit on. Jana's highlights include an offensive rebound and putback off a missed layup from Sarah Strong in transition. There was also a nice pass from a cutting Sarah to Jana in the lane, who put it up for 2. I'm really looking forward to their chemistry in the front court continuing to develop. I probably sound like a broken record, but it will definitely be a key in the postseason. The moving screens do have to be eliminated. There was one where Jana pretty blatantly shuffled her feet right and then shuffled her feet right again to try and prevent the Butler player from going around her, and they've been getting called quite frequently as of late, so definitely a wasted possession to avoid at all costs. Next, for Arnold, I can't remember the last time that Arnold only played 15 minutes in a game. Aubrey only got 13 minutes as well, and this can likely be attributed to the extra minutes that the starters got, since the game was within 20 points at the beginning of the fourth quarter. of course had a few of her signature hustle plays, like stripping the ball away in the paint and saving the ball from going out of bounds off a miss. She did have a 3 sandwiched in between a couple of Ashlynn's in that fourth quarter scoring run, but I do wish that would just shoot more of them. She continues to hesitate out there. These next 2 games and into the Big East tournament, I'd like to see just taking the chance and taking the shot. Now for some thoughts about the team's performance as a whole. The third quarter was an obvious struggle for UConn as they got outscored by Butler 25-22 after outscoring them by at least double figures in the previous 2 quarters. Perimeter defense was the main culprit in Butler's third quarter explosion. I don't think this UConn team should play much zone in the tournament, to put it lightly. They just haven't proven themselves to be adept enough at recovering to the perimeter, and if a team or even a single player gets hot, it can turn lethal, especially without a quick adjustment. I will also add that these perimeter defense woes weren't just restricted to this third quarter. I counted 3 early wide open threes from Butler when they were down 29-15, meaning that they converted 9 of their 15 points off of those very plays. Obviously, those 9 points didn't matter in this contest, but they will at some point in time. I do, of course, really enjoy seeing a defender stuck between 2 UConn players out on the perimeter and having to pick their poison, but it is less enjoyable for me seeing UConn on the flip side of that, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they manage all of this for the rest of the season. Luckily, UConn responded and proceeded to outscore Butler 22-5 in that fourth quarter. I'd say overall, UConn played a pretty solid textbook game. It wasn't the most complete, consistent, or pretty game, but they shot well from the field, held Butler at or below their usual shooting percentages, out-rebounded Butler, kept their turnovers low, and forced them on Butler's end, and so forth. Sometimes that's just what Big East play is. Having 5 Huskies score in double figures for the second straight game is another promising sign. Of course, my mind goes to the thought of I'd like it to be 6 Huskies or some higher number, but looking back at previous games, especially those that I thought UConn struggled in, whether they be non-conference losses or slow physical conference games, it's just not something they had then. I'm definitely hoping that this collective momentum carries over into the Big East tournament and eventually into March. I would really love to see 5 Huskies scoring in double figures for the rest of the season. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and as always, let me know what your thoughts and takeaways were from this game. I also redid my bookshelf because I realized it wasn't looking all that pretty with my school stuff and just miscellaneous stuff on there, so now it's a lot of basketball memorabilia that I've collected over the years. Hopefully it's better to look at. But yes, thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more of this content, I'm here quite often because UConn play quite often, so feel free to stick around. And that's what happened with the Huskies today. Till next time.